Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Real Estate Playbook. Once again, I am your host, Paul Goldman, and today I am here with Mr. Richard Kestory. How are you, Rich?
I'm good, Paul. Thanks. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty well. Thanks for asking. So for those of you who don't know, Rich is the broker of record here at our brokerage, 54 Realty. And I wanted to say, Rich, I'm glad we got to sit down and record this today. Joe and I have planned for future episodes as far as guests go, agents and folks like that. So I think it'll be good to have you on and get some unique perspective, seeing as you are the broker. I think people don't get to hear a lot from brokers and what goes on behind the scenes.
That's true. I mean, most brokers are kind of behind the scenes. You don't see them or hear them too often. So I kind of look forward to doing this as well.
Exactly. Being in the spotlight, if you will.
Yeah.
So to begin, I know you, of course, the team here knows you. For those people out there who are listening that don't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into real estate, and how you got to where you are today?
Cool. Yeah. So, before I got into real estate, I spent over 20 years at one of the largest retailers in the country on their logistics side. So I was kind of in the warehouse, helping making sure the product was out to the stores, to take care of the customers. But I needed to change, especially after 20 years of being in that business. And, it's almost like a Groundhog Day, same thing every day. So I was looking for something that was, something where your day-to-day routines are going to be different. And definitely in real estate that each day is different. There's no 2 days alike. So that's one of the things I loved about getting into real estate. Also, I was looking for something where obviously, I like helping people. And what better way to help someone than to open the door on the next chapter of their life by helping them find that in their next home and things like that. So that's kind of what geared me towards the real estate industry, just the excitement and the different things that are happening each day.
So when you did get your start in real estate, did you start as an agent or were you more on the transaction side? How did that come about?
Okay, yeah. So I got my license in 2014, started out as an agent. Quickly learned that there is so much thrown at a new agent when they first start in the business that it's really hard. You got to, obviously learning all your different contracts and, even how to find business and things like that is, really hard. So I started as an agent, worked my way, through that first couple of years as an agent. That's when I met Joe and Rose, joined 54 Realty just to get that extra help, with, just laying that groundwork and kind of following the roadmap as to how to become a successful agent.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So you would say, I guess, as a newer agent, having other people around you was kind of a good resource. People like Rose and Joe who kind of know the business a little bit.
Absolutely. As a new agent, you're struggling to find your way and what works for you. And having people that are already in the business that kind of have already did the experimentation part of it and you figuring out what works, what doesn't work, definitely helps a newer agent find their way. And then, they can see what works for other people and try it out for themselves, and find out what works for them.
Absolutely. And so if you don't mind talking about it a little bit, what was the roadmap kind of look like for you from being an agent, just starting off to becoming, the broker of record at the brokerage?
Sure. So, once I came in contact with Joe and Rose, kind of see what they had to offer, I worked with them as an agent on their team. At that time, I was still not 100% in as an agent. I was still kind of part-time as an agent. I had to have that paycheck coming in to make ends meet. Going from a salaried position to a commission-based income is really a hard thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
So I was, I was working with them. I was an agent on their team. I was successful in the fact that, as far as being part-time as an agent at that time, and I needed to have more stability in my income. And that's when Joe and Rose proposed the option to become the director of operations for the team back then. And looking at that was a way for me to make this switch full-time into real estate, being that, to have that stable income coming in. From there, I learned all aspects of real estate as far as transaction management, listing coordination, how to generate business, how to generate leads, things like that. And I found that by working in that capacity, I was actually enjoying it even more than just being an agent, because I was able to help other agents find their way especially being the fact that, I had just started recently, within the last 2 years at that point, and was able to, get to a point where I could help other agents through that tough time of, just getting started and finding their way and finding, what works, and, helping them become that successful agent that they want to be.
Absolutely. I'll circle back to that too in a moment, but I want to ask you this because I know just from knowing you personally, and obviously this comes with position as well, you strike me as kind of a numbers guy, an analytics guy. You like to know what's going on behind the scenes. You kind of pay attention to a lot of trends out of necessity, but also kind of strikes me as part of your personality. So saying that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the market, how things are right now. For those of you that don't know out there, or I'm sure you do if you've been looking to buy or sell a home recently, or even if you're an agent and you're paying attention to things recently, the market is insane. I mean, like I said on the first episode, this is my foray into real estate the past couple of years. So I can't speak too much as to past trends, but I was wondering, yourself having been in it a little bit longer, if you could talk a little bit about sort of what the market is like right now, maybe a brief snapshot, and how that might be affecting the average agent or even the average home buyer and seller, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, the market's definitely crazy right now. The lack of inventory is really driving up prices. It's driving, agents to pull their hair out when they're, out showing properties, and they know that when their clients find that the one that they want to make an offer on, there's going to be multiple offers on just about every property that's out there in today's market. So, that lends to the difficulty of being an agent and learning how to write those offers and make them stand out. But with the market, the lack of inventory, it's hurting both sides. Even you would think the listing agent is having a great time in the business right now. But the thing is one of their lead sources has completely dried up. There's very little to no expired listings, which is a huge lead source for listing agents, is looking for properties that expire, but now they don't even have that. With the lack of new construction is also hurting the inventory, because sellers that are looking to move up to a new house, they have to wait longer for the construction to be done with the shortage of supply, shortage of labor. So that's kind of constricting the market. But like I said, it's definitely crazy out there. Definitely seller's market. We're still seeing, multiple offers on every property, just about, people paying over list price, and over appraised value even. So yes, that's also driving up prices as well. And I don't think that we're in a bubble type situation, at least not yet. But time will tell on that one.
Absolutely. So yeah, everything you said, I think is pretty much holds true. I've heard a lot of it. There's something else I heard as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but mortgage rates are at a historical low right now. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I've never seen them this low before. And when you talk to people, like my parents, when they bought their home, they were paying 12, 13% interest on their mortgage. And we're seeing them under 3% still at this time. It's definitely a great time if you can get into the market to be able to you'll be able to afford a lot more house because the interest rate is so low.
That's true. It sounds like the perfect storm almost of low inventory, interest rates on mortgages. So to your point about buyers agents having the struggle right now, it kind of sounds like an uphill battle for them. So I could see a lot of people getting discouraged, especially if they're new agents coming in and they're not used to these conditions. They don't really have that sphere of influence built out to have a steady stream of income. So I'm sure that can be stressful for newer folks entering the market right now. Have you seen anything like this before? I know you mentioned that you haven't seen mortgage rates like this before, but has there been any time in the past that you could speak to of maybe a similar situation where inventory was low and kind of how that was, or perhaps not?
Not since I've been in the business, or even slightly before that, when I was just kind of exploring the business. I have never seen anything like this. And people look back to the boom of the early 2000s, and that was a completely different situation. It wasn't a lack of inventory. It was there was everyone was out there buying that shouldn't have been, that weren't really qualified. Right. To be able to buy the home that they were buying, but because they were able to get the money, that drove up prices because there were so many people in the market. Definitely wasn't a lack of inventory, or even, the new construction was going crazy at that time too. What we're seeing now is just, the lack of inventory and people still needing to move or, make that purchase. So that's what's, driving up prices. And that's why I feel it's not really a bubble type situation that, or like in the early 2000s where that, popped and everyone's home values plummeted. I don't see that happening this time. As inventory increases, the prices will stabilize. And I think, in time, obviously the market will correct and become more stable.
Absolutely. Or hopefully, I should say, right?
Yeah.
And I'll say too, I think just from an outsider perspective, kind of from what I see, just doing research here and there, we're kind of in a separate, unique situation, which kind of, again, compounds the market in that so many people are constantly moving to Florida. So we're always having these out-of-state transplants coming in, people looking to retire, or maybe younger folks looking to start their careers here or start their academic life here. So again, I think that just kind of exacerbates the situation. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so the reason I'm curious and the reason I'm kind of starting to get at here is from your perspective. I'm wondering, what would you say kind of keeps the brokerage running smoothly from the real estate agent perspective, from the broker perspective, things that people, the average buyer or seller out there might not see, or even the average agent might not see behind the scenes. Do you credit that to maybe like one thing, or would that be perhaps a variety of factors that just sort of keep everything tight, the glue, if you will?
Right. So absolutely, I think there are many factors that keep the brokerage running smoothly, but the biggest one is going to be support from the brokerage. You got to have that support system in place that will help an agent to be able to get through times like this. Support from the broker being available, or just different systems that a brokerage would have, and also kind of looking forward to see where are you expecting the market to be next year or the year after, things like that, and preparing for that ahead of time. So in addition to the support, just kind of looking out to the future and trying to gauge which way the market's heading, what will you need to do to be able to support yourself at that time when the market does make that change. And then kind of like circling back to the support, whether it's from training, systems, staff on hand, things like that. So the agent can be focused on working to, find what their customers need and not have to worry about what's going on behind the scenes. So, transaction management, listing coordination, having people available to help you when you need it while you're out in the field, things like that. Those are probably the main things that will keep a brokerage running smoothly. It's just having all those systems and avenues in place.
Absolutely. So thinking ahead of the curve, so to speak, and then also providing support to the agent, which it sounds like you're thinking what I'm thinking is that value that we provide, or that a functioning brokerage could provide to an agent, gets passed on to the client themselves, in that the agent has less to worry about. They have less of a high stress job, really. And so they can focus more on providing quality help, assistance to people that are looking to buy or sell, versus worrying about paperwork, I guess would be one way to put it.
Absolutely. Yeah. They don't have to worry about the paperwork. They don't have to worry about, where is their next client coming from, things like that. They can focus on the ones that they have and provide that great customer service to the client.
It's a well-oiled machine, right?
Absolutely.
So to change gears a little bit, I want to circle back to speaking to newer agents here in a moment, but I wanted to ask you a question first. Kind of a fun one. Let's say you are not working in real estate. Let's say things went a little bit differently. What would you see yourself doing as a career?
Well, obviously I where I'm at, I love what I'm doing. I love the position that I'm in to be able to help people. If it didn't work out and I wasn't in real estate, I would like to do something travel related, whether it's writing blogs on travel. I love going up into the mountains. Anything that I could do up there would be where I would want to be. Finding a way to make that pay the bills would be the hard part.
Right. That's awesome. That's funny too. That's something I think a lot of agents or just people who are looking for new careers in general struggle with, is finding that intersection of something that you'd like to do, but something that pays the bills.
Mhm.
I think that's why a lot of people take on real estate sort of as like a part-time or a secondary career as well, because you have a little bit more freedom in your schedule. You're kind of your own boss, so to speak, if you're an agent. And so maybe you can travel and still be a great agent, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, so the last question I wanted to get with you on, and this is something we'll probably be asking pretty much every one of our guests. So feel free to answer it how you want. But if you could talk directly to a new agent or a newer agent who's maybe overwhelmed by how things are in the market, current conditions, like I was saying, people, and I've spoken to new agents as well, who this has been the case for them. They're coming on, they just got licensed, and everything is so hectic and so crazy that they just get overwhelmed, and perhaps they end up giving up, or perhaps they just aren't sure what to do next, right? If you could speak to someone like that, what would you say? What would your advice be?
Well, my advice would be, and you kind of hit the nail on the head as a new agent. There is so much thrown at them all at once. From once they got that license, is the hardest part is up ahead of them. Is finding the brokerage that fits. And with all the information that's thrown at them and all the learning that they still have ahead of them, a lot of them seem to make they make a hasty decision when they're choosing the brokerage, which is probably one of the biggest mistakes possible. You gotta find a brokerage where you're gonna feel comfortable, where you're gonna feel like you are there to make a difference, that you're not just a face in the crowd, that you're gonna have the support that you need to continue on the journey that you've chosen. With that, being said, so when you're looking at a brokerage, looking for someone who's going to provide you support, someone who's going to be there to answer questions. They're going to help you find business. Those are all the biggest things. The hardest part once you become an agent is, where does your next paycheck come from? And that's, going to be something that you need to think about. All the brokerages that when you interview with, they're going to tell you that they can do everything that you need to do. But you need to dig deeper and find out exactly what it is that they're going to do for you to help you get to where you need to be to reach the goals that you've set for yourself. And that's kind of, one of the biggest things when I'm talking with new agents on the phone is they ask, well, about training, they ask about splits. Every brokerage is going to provide training, and each brokerage has different comp plans. So finding what fits for you and what makes the most sense for you in your business is really going to be the biggest steps that a new agent needs to take. You're going to learn contracts, you're going to learn all that stuff wherever you go. But the biggest thing is how are you going to generate business? Is the brokerage going to help with that? Or are they just say that you'll get leads and then you sit on floor time and no phone calls come in? So those are the biggest things. Is where do you feel comfortable? How are you going to generate business? Does the brokerage help with generating business? What support systems do they have in place for you along the path? Do they help with transactions? Do they help with listings? Do they, are you kind of, once you're onboarded, are you kind of on your own? That kind of thing. So that's
Exactly.
basically what I tell, new agents when I come across them is you got to find that place where you're comfortable.
I think that's great advice. And if I could liken it to one of my own experiences, going to school, I guess, would be a good comparison, right? When you get into college, you are assigned an advisor, and they're supposed to be there to kind of help you through your career and provide you with the support that you need. I personally have had some experiences where those people kind of just disappear and you feel like you're on your own. So by comparison, I would say with a brokerage, you should be looking for someone who, like you said, is going to be present and is going to support you and give you the tools that you need to succeed. And so something I would encourage people to do as well, and you said this, but talk to as many people as you can, I feel, at a brokerage, because we have new agents that come in and they talk to a bunch of us. I mean, they'll do the little tour around the office and, you meet your transaction coordinators, you meet obviously your broker of record, you meet your marketing people, you meet the front desk folks. So I would just say, get to know everyone you can, look at the brokerage or whatever team you're looking to join from every angle. And hopefully you can find the right fit for you.
Yep. That's the most important thing is where do you fit in? Like you said, when you're interviewing at brokerages and you're walking around, pay attention to, how many people are there. When I went on my tour, my first brokerage that I ended up joining, it was like a ghost town in there. There was a front desk person, and one or two other office staff, but then the rest of the offices were empty and there was, no one coming in and out. So, when I look back, would I have joined that brokerage, knowing what I know now, I might have kept looking. But, in reality though, because I did join that brokerage, that's how I met Joe and Rose and 54 Realty. And, so if you look at it that way, it was the right decision. Just took me a little bit longer to get where I wanted to be. So that's kind of, my take on it, at least.
Well, either way, we're glad to have you, Richard.
Thank you.
I think of you as the glue sometimes. So, well, thanks for sitting down with me today, Rich. I greatly appreciate it, sir. I know you're busy, so I appreciate you making time for this.
Yeah, it was nice talking with you. I appreciate the time to kind of, get my message out there too, as far as how to make things work for new agent coming on, or just what is kind of going on in the industry. Yep.
Absolutely. And it was valuable advice. And so before we sign off, I just wanted to say this is episode number 2. So we're still getting a few things ironed out here, but we are on YouTube. We are on Spotify now. So check us out over there. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok is actually coming soon, which should be fun. But you can subscribe to us, follow us across any of those platforms. And we're coming to a few new podcast platforms as well, Apple Podcasts, things like that. So keep your eyes and ears open. And Rich, thanks, man. And we'll see everyone on the next episode.